Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm Moose the Gimp. You're watching Moose the Gimp. We got another great interview segment today. Emilio Garcia-Ruiz, who has a very lengthy title, Managing Editor of Digital Media Coverage at the Washington Post. Emilio Garcia-Ruiz, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Chris. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. Well, you have probably one of the most exciting jobs in journalism, I think. You are basically at the epicenter of the digital age and transforming newspapers into that digital age. Can you kind of give us an overview of what it is you do? You lead a staff of well over 70 people, and you have all these new initiatives. Can you give us an idea of what it is that you do at the Post?
Yeah, well, the Post digital operation really is part of the regular run of the day now. There isn't anything separate. We
Right.
call ourselves a 24-hour operation, and most of the day is spent on digital, and then part of it is spent on print. And I oversee more than 350 people,
Wow.
and everything from the video department to our copy desk to the team that does the homepage. Our audio team, for instance, and the podcasts we do, those all fall under me as well.
So, you and I worked together at the St. Paul Pioneer Press back in the mid to late 90s. And even back then, when the internet was just in its infancy, you always had this, forward-thinking ideas about how newspapers were going to survive in this new era of the coming internet. What has kind of been your philosophy? Because how did you get attached to this in the beginning? And what is your kind of general philosophy about how this how newspapers can take this and run with it?
Well, if you remember, when all of us were back in sports, the internet immediately showed how it could change sports coverage, right?
Right.
The internet is immediate. It's great with video. It's great with statistics. And if you were in sports in the late 90s, you'd have to be an idiot not to see the potential, right?
Sure.
And so having seen that potential, the question was, how do you implement it on a greater scale to all subjects? And to be honest, the newspaper industry did not do a very good job of that. We failed to see the business challenges coming from people who wanted to disrupt the advertising part of our business. It took a long time for the newsrooms to walk away from sort of the culture of print. That took much longer than it should have taken. And so the result was we got a lot of competition from people who came in and ate our lunch, and the industry is still recovering from that. We still face huge cutbacks in newsrooms across the country. And for the first time recently, we've seen cutbacks in digital-only newsrooms, newsrooms that started in the last 5-10 years, because the business model issues haven't really been solved. So from an information point of view, the internet is a glorious age. There's never been a better time to be a storyteller. But from a business side model problem, it's something our industry hasn't quite solved.
So you have, in addition to this, this approach with digital, you've been, a newsroom leader for well over 2 decades. How do you now, as the managing editor of the digital, how do you still communicate with the newsroom? Do you communicate with reporters on a daily basis, or how does that, kind of communication go on?
So I have department heads over about 11 different departments that I communicate with regularly. And they then supervise departments of as many as, 75 to 100 people. Yeah. So the conversations for me at this point are really strategic and at a higher level than at the day when we were in St. Paul together, and we had a sports staff of, I don't know what that was, a couple dozen people, covering all the great sports in the Twin Cities. So it's different now. The other big change is that it's constant. The news cycle has never been as busy as it is at this moment. Right now, we're at an amazing triangle between, the race protests going on around the country, the pandemic, and then the re-election of Donald Trump, the campaign,
right.
The presidential campaign. So it is 24/7. It is relentless. It is unbelievably stressful, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
You got to tell me, I mean, what is it like being on ground zero of covering President Trump? I mean, you guys must go to work every day, just licking your chops on how you gonna cover this guy.
Well, I mean, I think we go to work like we do with any president, wanting to do our job, and our job is to hold. The reason we're in the Constitution is that our job is to hold the powerful accountable, and so we cover this administration the same way we'd cover any administration. It just turns out that Trump is far more, how would you put it, generous when it comes to the news cycle, right? He begins making news at 5:36 in the morning with his tweets,
Right.
and it goes all day, and it can be absolutely unexpected and go all the way into the night, and you never really know what's coming next. It's for a reporter, it's an amazing time to be alive, because most presidents, are, you go back to Bush and Obama, for the most part, the day-to-day of them was very scripted and frankly, kind of boring. With Trump, it is never boring. There's always something to cover. It's always exciting, and there's always something to do.
This question comes to us from PFP in Arizona. How does the Post authenticate and document the truthfulness and correctness of what people are saying if you can't directly attribute it to like during a live television interview? What's the vetting process of the sourcing before the story hits the internet or the paper?
So we have a very deep and complex vetting process. I mean, the very basic rule of journalism, for instance, is you want to make sure you have two people who have direct source of a fact, who have direct access to a fact, direct knowledge of a fact, before you run anything. Then now, fortunately, because we live in the United States, which has amazing legal access to all kinds of government data, you want to back up any information you have with data. And then you have, a trove of social media posts that people have done to you can verify things through there. And so there are a lot of different sources you can use to verify. Video is a great source. You can go back and see what a person said 6 months ago and whether it still matches what they say today. And so, as I said earlier, there's really never been a better time to be a reporter.
So, with the 24-hour news cycle that we're in, how does the Post, see outlets like Fox and MSNBC? Are you guys do you try to be on the forefront of what you're of the direction of the media coverage, or do you guys follow what the networks are talking about? Is there any kind of a symbiotic relationship with TV? Just in terms of what coverage they have and what coverage you guys have.
Well, the relationship we want is we break a big exclusive story and they chase us.
Right.
It's very competitive. The whole thing is based on competition, and whoever, the outlet that dominates the news cycle usually is the outlet that has the scoop. And we want to have the scoop. And we compete now with everybody: radio stations, networks, cable networks, people with blogs. Everybody is a potential competitor. Specialized sites, that do specific subjects like politics. So everyone is a competitor. Everyone has access to the facts, and we just want to be first every single time.
So I looked up some of the initiatives that the Post has with regard to digital media, and you guys do some really fascinating stuff on how you integrate storytelling in that you can get on your iPad or your phone, just in terms of graphics and how that story is told, not just the printed word. Some of the things I was looking at, there's a great series, Analytics of Hope, which is the internet video that you guys do. There's a couple others. How do you, are you part of directing that? And how does, is that kind of what we're the forefront of new journalism? Is that type of storytelling?
Yeah, the world is changing, Chris. You have definitely human beings have decided to consume information visually. If you look at, the younger generation, my kids, for instance, everything they do is visual. You look at Snapchat, you look at Instagram, even Facebook, right? These are visual forms of communication. The written text, standing alone, is no longer the dominant way of communicating. So what we want to do is we want to use as many elements as possible to tell a story. So yes, you still want a foundation of text, but you want to overlay and combine video and photos and graphics and motion graphics and anything that the internet gods give you to be able to tell a story in a complete a way as possible. What I like to tell people is that instead of writing articles, we are now creating experiences. News is an experience. And if the business model for us going forward requires us to sell subscriptions, then our experiences have to be better than everyone's experiences. So that's why you see us using so many different types of visual storytelling in our journalism.
On your website and how you guys have your stuff set up on venues like YouTube. You guys almost have like your own television station now. It's you're doing something, the 2020 Fix, which is kind of a look at the election and the process of the coming elections. You even have a cooking show. Is that kind of is that what we're looking at, the new journalism for newspapers? Is
We
more
have
television? Yep.
Sure, with all the, as I said, we compete with everybody, but we're also
Yeah.
able to go to all kinds of platforms. So
Yeah.
we have a very distributed strategy where not only, do you find us on WashingtonPost.com, but you find us on everything from Flipboard to Apple News to Snapchat to
Yeah.
YouTube. We need to put our news where people are. The days of people going to a specific place to get their news themselves are fading, and it's being replaced by people going to sort of social sites or content type sites like YouTube, and they're getting a slew of information from a slew of different publishers. And we need to be in all those places.
I do have to give you a lot of credit here. When I knew you, you directed the paper's Pulitzer coverage in sports. George Dorman wrote the stories about the academic scandal at the University of Minnesota. But you never have ever taken credit for all the work that you've put in. And maybe people haven't maybe heard of your name on a wide basis, but the great comedian Jack Benny always used to say he doesn't want to take credit for his great jokes. He wants the people around him to kind of be the ones that are the stars. Are you kind of the same way? I mean, you never take credit for it, but you're the guy that's really leading all this.
Well, as an editor, you take your greatest pleasure from watching your reporters, your videographers, your photographers be the ones who shine, right? You sign up for that. We're not the ones out there, doing the information gathering or the photography or the video. We get our pleasure from doing the work in the background that allows people to shine. And so, yeah, I don't need credit for the work. I much prefer the people who work for me getting the credit. When I worked for you, Chris, it was frankly hard because you were such a big star that it's very difficult to find any space in your sort of galaxy. And so, we do what we can for the big stars like yourself.
Well, we're running out of time here. I gotta ask you a couple quick hits here. Best place to take a newcomer on a must have dinner when they're in DC?
It's none of the places you think.
None of the places you take me, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would take you I take you to 14th Street for tapas at a place called Estadio where we'd eat good Spanish food.
All right, and who's going to be on the 2020 ticket?
I think you got to go, if you're betting right now, you got to do Biden and Harris.
Biden and Kamala. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Biden going to drop out eventually?
Biden? You mean Trump?
Well, no, Biden after he gets the nomination and becomes president, then he'll drop out and let Harris take it.
No, that's not going to happen, Chris.
Okay. Okay. Well, Emilio, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. Best of luck to you. We're on opposite ends of the coast now, but all the best going forward. And thanks again.
You're welcome, Chris. It was great catching up. Great to see you. Take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks for watching Moose to Gimp, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, dude. See ya.
See ya.